welcome back to Salmon's Pizzeria, where we are once again back for a very interesting edition of the Championship Pizzeria. I am, of course, your host, Callum Blythe, and I am once again joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Kieran Ashton. How are you, Kieran?
Yeah, I'm alright. Delighted to be back on. Obviously, missed out last week's episode, but nonetheless, delighted to be back on. Talk about a Bristol win. Obviously, we'll go on to discuss that a bit more in depth, but I'm delighted to be on.
No, I was going to say is that you managed to miss the episode where Partick Thistle lose in the cup. You know, your cup runs over, no party, no trophy parades in Maryhill.
Well, hey, there's still lots more football left to be played here, but um, aye, just on that game, on that cup game, you could have wanted me on to talk about it, so. I thought we gave a really good account of ourselves. Pretty unlucky. I thought we get done by far a wee bit, but listen, this isn't a Scottish Premiership podcast. We're not grading bar watch, but I think the ranting that I've, that needs to be done a bit far has been done on our end. But look, listen, I'm very proud of us nonetheless. It's on to the league business now, and yeah, that's it pretty much. I've got a bit of confidence, um, obviously after the showing we put in against St Mirren. Confidence for the playoffs as well if we do come up against a Premiership side. Because if St Mirren were anything to go by, not really, wasn't really that impressed by them. But nonetheless, I on to league business now, on to your bread and butter.
And we will be sticking with you because, of course, Friday night's Under the Lights made its return with Morton at home to Partick. Morton looking to end a run of form that has seen them lose their last three league games. Thistle, meanwhile, looking for their first away win in the league since the end of September to try and keep this title hunt going. Whilst you weren't at the game, you did, of course, watch the full thing, so I'll let you take us away with this.
I watched it in the comfort of my own living room, and when you always go down to when you always go down to Capital, even again, not even that Capital, but whenever you come up against Greenock Morton itself, it's always going to be a battle, and it pretty much was that. We had to, you know, I think we needed a win straight off the bat. I think if we got points, I think that would have been pretty much it in terms of the title. Um, but as well as that, we had to put an end to our away records, and we did just that. And what a way to do it. Obviously, early, like just to kind of talk about the game itself, we put on a bit of early pressure, but Sosa didn't have the ball in the back of the net, and it was ruled offside. I think that was on the 10th minute mark. Um, but yeah, Morton would obviously then break up the other end of the park, and I'll give them their credit. It was a really good, well worked goal. Um, the ball was passed about, worked about well, and then the ball was then played into the box for Delaney, and Cameron McPherson would then latch onto it and stab the ball straight on Josh Clark. And for putting those kind of qualms about it, maybe defensively could have done a bit better, especially in the box. Cameron McPherson found himself with a good bit of space as well in the middle of the box, but again, I'll give Morton their credit. It was a really well worked goal. And they had some chances to extend the lead moments after, but I think Clark dealt with them relatively well, didn't really trouble them that much. Samuel then had a chance to equalise as well. He had a chance just inside the box, but it just went past the post. Um, but I think it was towards the latter stage of the first half, this would then get, in my opinion, if it was given against us on the face of it, it was pretty soft penalty. Um, but unfortunately, you could talk about if it's off this or against the home, but if it's by the letter of the law, the boy's got two hands on him and he's pushed him in the box. He's with no intent to play the ball. So if you're playing by letter of the law, um, it's a red and it's a penalty. But if it was, I would feel very hard done by if I was a Morton fan, certainly if it happened to Thistle up the other end. I would
I
feel
was,
pretty hard done
I
by.
was watching that first half live, and it's like Morton were very much deserving of their lead at the time. But like you say about that penalty, it is really soft. But that's because I wouldn't say he's got his hands all over it. It's sort of like his forearm has gone into like in
Uh,
between the shoulders, and it's like a slight nudge. But you can't be giving a referee a call like that to make.
no,
It's
definitely.
just
I think it was more.
it's very soft, but it's really silly. And I believe I can't even find the name of the boy who did get sent off, but I believe it was only like his
It was
fifth.
Lapati, right?
I was going to say it's only like his fifth senior game of football,
Yeah.
or something mad like that. But
Aye.
yeah, it's like
That's,
with it being a red
aye.
card as well, it's just a case of it being its last man denial of goal scoring opportunity. But then it's like you have this whole other thing about what's it called, double jeopardy or something, where it's like generally you don't give red cards for penalties, which
Aye.
made it very weird to see that one be given as a red. But
Aye.
yeah,
Definitely.
I don't know anymore.
Aye. No, neither. I don't think anybody's know the rules at all. To be honest, I don't think the officials themselves know the rules, but they're not going to that. But I think it was pretty funny, mind you, because before that, Latafi White or whatever his name is, Latafi White or whatever, was last seen giving a wanker dressed up the lot. So I think Karma came back to bite him in the arse a wee bit, but um, aye, that was aye pretty as you say, Callum just hit the nail on the head there. Very soft, but really stupid decision to make as well. And it was given by Ross Harvey, by the way, who really does fuck all in games. So yeah, I was surprised to see him give us that penalty, but I Stanley obviously forced the dispatch it pretty. I wouldn't say easily because I thought the keeper just got a hand to it, but it was too hard for him, and it went top corner, and I pretty much dragged us right back into the game. I second half thought it was a more of a hard watch, to be honest, pretty hard. I don't think there was any real quality to show. Samuel Stanley and Fitzpatrick notably passed up chances. And Morton also had a couple of chances, but they were missed or they were headed wide or whatever. It wasn't really that much of a spectacle footballing wise. It's always, but as I said, it's always a battle down the capital. It's never one for a venue for filthy football to get played. Um, but I then on the 90th minute, Samuel would get a chance in the middle of the box. We'd have two defenders on him when he would get the beating of both of them. And I sent it away and did the absolute raptures. It was a tidy finish. With I believe his weak foot as well. I think he's right footed and he hit it with his left. So I put it past the Morton goalie and I absolute secret in my household anyway, shall we say. I absolutely fantastic. The tap was off and everything. So that was fantastic to see. And then, but you would like to think that was the end of the drama and this will go home with 3 points comfortably, but that wouldn't be the case. Ashcroft with these, a lot of people are always fucked up. What's happened there? His hamstring apparently tightened up, like his muscle tightened up, and it led him to fall, just on the the byline, the Morton byline, and Taylor was laying that on it, and he squared it, to Lyle, Aaron Lyle, um, who would, you would like to think they would put the ball away from, I think it was all 5 yards, but Ethan England's on the line to clear it. And I pretty much secures 3 points for the Jags, which was fucking absolutely massive win for us. As I said, it was a brutal watch, but massive 3 points. It keeps us in the title hunt ahead of a massive game on Friday night, which I think we'll go on to talk about later on. But aye, just a couple of stats for you as well after this game. So to give you, um, so that was Alex Samuel's ninth goal for Thistle. And it's also a record 9 goals in 90 minutes or 90 plus minutes for Mark Wilson's Thistle, 23 of which have been scored against Norton.
Yeah,
Aye,
I was gonna say it's with that mess at the end. It's like if you'd aimed anywhere apart from the foot of Ingram, it's a goal.
aye, yeah, I know. But aye, that's it's absolutely mental. As well as that, that's now 7 wins where we've had to come from behind to win in all games for Thistle, and that is now the highest tally since joint all-time records of 9 in 2005-06. As well as that, just another mental stat for you, that is our first away win in 164 days,
Yep.
um, which is mental to think. The fact we're challenging for the title is mental. But that game also meant that Bottom have also led in every one of the 4 games against Thistle this season. Um, Once they were leading by 2, they haven't won any of them, and they've conceded goals in the 91st, 94th, and 90th minute. So, that's absolutely beautiful. So nonetheless, as I say, fantastic win. It's always good to sit in bottom, and there's no better way of doing that. From a Morton perspective, I thought they were okay. Very cagey, just a standard Morton team, very stuffy. Um, but I thought they were really good as well. I think they'll kind of struggle. Well, they'll struggle towards the end of the season. I don't think they'll go down. I think they'll just stay up. But yeah, I don't think other than their goal and a couple of flash chances, don't think they really threatened us that much. Um, but I now after that today, I would come on here talking about obviously the game on Friday night. Um, I would come on here with a bit more positivity and optimism about it. But today, as of about maybe 2 hours ago, um, it's come out that Watt and Smith, Tony Watt and Nathan Smith are out for 8 weeks, and Chalmers is out for 8 weeks, 6 weeks, sorry. So it's a fucking major blow just now, and it's could not be worse timing. Um, yeah, it's not looking good for that, and I think that's pretty much. I would say season over, but 3 injuries to three, probably 3 of the more important players, most important players certainly. Um, it's major kick in the nuts.
It does seem that way. You know, it's like you finally break the away day curse, and then it's just like, but there's been a curse. It's been, it's like a
Yeah,
monkey's paw.
yeah,
That's what it's like. But yeah, it's I was celebrating the result for reasons we'll get onto later. But yeah, like you say, a very important result for Thistle, especially with the aforementioned away form. It's just like maybe considering I think there's a month difference in the amount of days. Maybe Rafe will break it at some point in April. But yeah, as that's the Friday result done, I guess we move on to the Saturday results. Where of course there is one big game we have to talk about. Ugh, fucking need this, by the way. It is of course Dunfermline Athletic at home to Raith Rovers, and oh dear God. So this derby sees a in-form Dunfermline hosting a Raith side who have scored 2 goals in their last 11 away games, and it went exactly as expected. Callum Morrison would open the scoring after 27 minutes, after he was left wide open in midfield to just make a run and collect the ball with like no Raith player making an effort to close down the ball at any point. It's like he gets it, edge of the box. Closest player, Darrell O'Connor, is about maybe 10 yards away and like just inside the box. And instead of trying to close him down, he just sort of does some weird fake DJ move on it. It's like I was watching back. I'm like, what sort of bouncing movement are you doing? Like it's like he's got like a pretend like this jockey desk in front of him. He's just going duh, duh, duh. I was like, what are you doing? And of course, it's like because it's like no one closes him down. He gets a shot away, and coincidentally, because of where O'Connor is doing his little jig, he's blocking Josh Ray's view, and so Ray doesn't see it until it's basically right in front of him. And best he can do is make an attempt to stick his foot out, but it's just too much power on it, and that is 1-0 Dunfermline. And we do not learn our lesson at all, because not long afterwards, ball is put into the box, low cross, and Chris Kane gets onto the end of it, and it's blocked, and it is just like that first Ross County goal, where the ball was just left there, bouncing in the box. There was about 4 Raith Rovers players, like, there. None of them moved towards the ball. And Andy Todd, who has come from further away than those Raith defenders, has got there, and it should be 2-0, but thankfully he just sort of falls over the ball. And, it's... it's just pathetic. It's just pathetic. That's my description of this first half. The only the only attempt we had was Easton's free kick after the restart for the first goal, but that went over. That was I think that was our only attempted goal in that first half. There is, I say about being pathetic. It's like just I don't think anyone bothered to go into a sprint in that first half. Genuinely, it's like no one went anything quicker than like a fast jog. It's like when you want, when you can't be bothered in PE and you want to look like you're trying, but it's like it's kind of obvious when you're not going full pelt. I could say that for like half a team, yes, in that first half at least. Just fuck all effort. It's like we've been saying about Airdrie and about like their lack of talent, but it's like I would be more fine if it was just a case of we're just lacking in these areas or whatever. These players have proven over the last few years they have the talent, but there's just no effort being put in. And whether that's just a case of the fact they're a year older, 2-3 years older, and like legs are starting to go, so be it. But it's just again, it's just pathetic. Pathetic's the only word that I can use to describe this. There was like Josh Mullen multiple times just shat out at challenges, that sort of thing, and it's like in a derby, it's like in any game, but like a derby especially, that's like the last thing you want. And but the thing is, we get to the second half and it's still 1-0, and you're thinking, as much as we've been terrible, it's like we have been terrible, pathetic, all that sort of stuff. It is 1-0. Like anything can happen. We can score the flukiest goal in the 90th minute and get a point, and we won't complain until we look back at the game and realise, oh dear God, we were terrible. But anything can happen. And in the second half, despite being by far the better team in the first half, Dunfermline just sort of sat back, which was weird. Because like if you looked at that first half, and like if you're Neil Lennon, you're just like, these guys are not up for it. Just go for it, go for the jugular, that sort of thing. But no, they just sort of sat back, and Rafe very much had most of the ball. We were more or less, yeah, we were more or less camped in their half, I want to say. But the annoying thing is, it's like outside of Doherty having a shot from about 25 yards and it going just wide, didn't really create anything of note. No real clear cut chances. I think there was one where Ennis Cameron was kind of 1-on-1 coming up to the edge of the box, but his first time shot was a bit of a P roller, and I think Vaughan had an effort from the edge of the box, but it was deflected out for a corner. But it's like, at least for that moment, there was that effort that was missing in the first half. But if and even then, it's like players coming on such as it's like before watching the highlights, the only thing that sort of gave me any sort of impression was the fact that Richard Chen, when he came on, there was a point where he was running, and the ball was about to go out, and he was like side by side with, I want to say, Chiloko Mullen, and instead of, it's like what like half a squad would have done at this point is just let it go out. It's just like, oh, I'm not getting that, no point. Chen still goes for it. He still goes and he puts a slide tackle in and stops the ball basically on the line. Chiloko Mullen falls over him and he still manages to get the ball in the box. And it's just like, where has this been for the other 80 minutes at this point? But in the end, it didn't matter because Chris Kane would sneak between Ross Matthews and Paul Hanlon as the ball was put low into the box, and he just sort of flicks it into the bottom corner. And the main question is, why is it between... This is at like Josh Ray's right post. Why is he running between Hanlon, centre-back, and Matthews, centre-mid? Where's the other centre-back? Where's Darragh O'Connor? He hadn't been taken off. He was stood next to Jay. He was further towards being a right back than Jay Rowe, actual right back, when that cross is being made. What are you doing there? You are a centre back. And then, it's like at that point, that's when everyone just decides, nah, fuck this, we're leaving. But then I was just like, no. I got to like the bottom of the stairs and I was just like, nope, there's going to be like 2 minutes. I'm going to stay behind and I'm going to boo. Because I hate this team. And in those 2 minutes, in an attempt to get the ball into the box, O'Connor tries doing the one thing he's seemingly good at, and that's just hoofing the ball long. It gets blocked by the Furman player, falls to someone else, it gets launched over the top, and Andrew Todd gets onto the end of it, who lifts it over just past Josh Ray to make it 3-0. Fucking fantastic. And I was saying to Kieran before we started this recording, it's like we have the episode recording from October when we lost to Derby Lane at Eastern Park, and I was basically calling for the literal head of Barry Robson. And then there was the other Derby defeat at Starks just after Christmas, which wasn't covered because it was in that sort of Christmas New Year period. We thankfully weren't able to get something out for that. And with that one, it's like I went to Edinburgh that night, and between leaving the ground and getting to meeting up with my pals, it was about an hour, and I didn't say a single word. I was just angry. And it was the same for like the first hour when I was with my friends. It took an hour to get a sentence longer than maybe 5 words every 15 minutes out of me, because I was just that angry at the team. See, after this one, I just had at most apathy. It just sort of deserved that. There's no complaints because it was exactly what we deserved. it's like, why should I? I know I joked about recreating the O'Hara and Cundy bet on Talksport. You know, it's like me threatening Kieran's life if he asked me if Raith were going down or whatever. But you know, at this point, it's just sort of like,
Are they going down, Callum? Are they going down?
yes, yeah. This is just you know, that's the thing. It's like, why should I get so angry and so like I care when the team evidently doesn't? That's the thing. It's like that first half just sealed it for me. It's just like we're we're fucked. There's just there's no effort. There's no effort in this team, and you know, it's like with a lot of those players, a bunch of them are out of contract, and you would think they would play to either earn a new contract here, or if they are going to leave, which basically all of them, I'm more than happy to see the back of. It's just they could at least try and it's like try put themselves in a shop window or whatever. But it's like it's like if we go down into League One, are these none of these players are going to come out of it looking good? It's just pathetic. That's all I have to say. But in regards to Dunfermline, they were excellent in the first half. They were good in the first half, but like I said, it's like second half they really dropped off, and it's like if we were competent going forward, that's now the last. It's like the 12 away games since we beat Morton at Capello, beginning of September. That's now 2 goals in 12, which tells you all you need to know. If we were competent, we might have punished them, but they were deserving of their win, and they're looking pretty good for at least a playoff spot. Whether that's 4 it's like considering Arbroath's form recently, maybe they could sneak third. There's enough games for it to happen, but yeah, Raith, dear God. This upcoming month is massive. We have as much as the reason why I've been so like fucking miserable has been the fact that we've just been playing away games recently. And it's like with these results, we're now bottom of the away league table on goal difference. But when it comes to our home form, we're actually mid-table, and our next 4 games are at home in the league. We have Airdrie on Saturday, Thistle on the Tuesday, Ayr on the Friday, and then we have the Challenge Cup final, and then after that we have Morton. And we have got to beat Airdrie. I'm sorry, but it's like any other result than other than a win. It's like if we beat Airdrie, I'm confident that will keep us off bottom. If we draw, that keeps Airdrie alive, really.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of the same with Morton in that regard, because we're level with them. We're only above them on goal difference, and it's like we're both 3 points above Airdrie and Ross County. And it's like we do also have Ross County bottom. We also have Ross County on the final day at home, which again is another sort of okay. There's maybe some hope for that, but that Ross County game comes after 3 away games in a row, and as we've seen, I've got no hope of away fixtures at this point. But aye. Kieran, your thoughts on either teams? Anything you want to rub in?
I mean, I think pretty much you've hit the nail on the head, Callum. Uh, Before Dunfermline took the lead, it was just all Dunfermline. Poor, I would say, poor goal conceded. I think the first and second goal were really poor to concede. Obviously, you're talking about was it O'Connor's positioning, and
Yeah.
the man jockeying thing that you were talking about. That's obviously upset keeps off Gray's side. But yeah, the second one again, very poor. Third one, I've got to admit, was a good goal for Dunfermline, classy finish. But as you said, by that point, the Raith defence had collapsed. They'd given up. I mean, they gave up after they went 1-0 up. Never mind. Well, went 1-0 down. Sorry, never mind 2-3. Um, there's just to what I've seen at the highlights as well. There's no real fight or fight, friction, even desire, effort, just plain effort into the Raith side, and that came across in the highlights as well. Um, I do think they would still maintain they're worst teams in the division. I think they're still worst teams in the division than Raith Rovers. I think the league table kind of says that. But I would, if I was a Raith fan right now, I would still be very worried. Be incredibly worried now. If you weren't worried before, I'd be very worried now because these bottom teams are going to they'll pick points up on that as well. I think um, from now until the end of the season, Ross County will probably grab a couple of wins here and there. Whether they're consistent or whether they're consistent enough to do so, I don't know. I don't know. I can't answer that. But
I,
yeah,
I was about to say I'd seen a thing where it was like after 12 games. I think it was after we beat Arbroath 3-0. And at that point, we had 17 points. We're 16 games later, and in that time frame, we've had 13. We've won twice. We're bottom. As I've said before about the form tables, it's like we're 29 games in and Flash goes, they do it on 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. For 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25, we're bottom. We're bottom.
yeah.
Somehow, Barry Robson's early season okay-ish form is what is keeping us off the bottom of the table.
Nah,
And it is just it's just shit. it's just it's just really shit. If it wasn't,
sorry, get on with it.
I was going to say it's like I realised earlier today in the group chat we were talking about season tickets, and yeah, turns out I paid £320 for mine. What a good use of money that was. If I didn't have a season ticket, I don't think I'd go to another game this season because, like, why should I? No one cares. None of those players care.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think's the reason for that then? For just poor run of form? Is it Dougie Indy? Is it the players? Is it both? Is it just effort?
I think it's the players. It at this point it's the players, and just through the fact that we've kept the same general core from like 3 years ago, and we just. But even then, there's also the recruitment side of things where we just recruited poorly. I'd say, and also the fact is like our squad average age is something daft like 32 or something stupid like that. It's just ridiculous. But I just shit.
It just seems a bit like rinse and repeat kind of thing.
Aye.
As well as that, it's like you're recruiting in the Remember Angel type thing. I think it was pretty early on in the podcast as well. I think it was, I don't know what episode it was. He brought up the recruitment for me hasn't been good. And you're like, but it's alright, it's fine. I think this is when it starts to show
Yeah.
the poor recruitment. And I mean, from a past from a Fairman standpoint, I don't know if you'd really like to talk about that, but that point of view, rather than just ranting and raving, which I completely understand. I'd do the exact same, but I think both is theirs to lose now.
Aye, especially with the other results, and it's like they are, as it stands, 5 points behind our both with a game in hand. I would have put it past them getting third at this rate.
Yeah.
Like,
Um,
finally, someone in this midfield pack has decided to show a bit of form.
but I mean, I've heard from outside, well, sources saying that Dunfermline fans are actually thinking they could catch St Johnson. Uh, but I mean, I think that's
Ah,
getting ahead of himself a wee bit. Um, but I mean, saying that, I mean, if we win on Friday or draw, well, I think if we draw on Friday, to be honest, I think that's the league done. I think obviously we'll go into that game Friday night, but if we win, I think it certainly opens it back up again. But I don't know. I think it would be a bit too far from fourth or third. Realistic, I think third is probably the best the Premier League can get, and considering how the start of the season and how they were kind of in that midfield pack, I think they would certainly take that. Um, but yeah, it was a good one for them. I don't even think Dunfermline really, as I said, in the second half, first half it was all them. They could have really put Raith to the sword in the first half. Um, I wouldn't say they dog walked Raith, but they didn't have to go into third gear. It was almost as if they were like, right, we gave you the ball or the presidency to be like, let's see what they can do with the ball, let's see how they're going to threaten this kind of thing, and then ultimately done fuck all with it, and then they just went right up there and put you to the sword the latter stages of the game, but aye, like great. Dunfermline, obviously it's weird to say that considering they have still beat you 3-0, but they didn't have to do much. Um, in the second half. And I think I don't know if that means that's probably due to the blitz down in pools or whatever. I don't know, but um, I certainly from a base standpoint, it's just it's brutal at the moment. And honestly, if we don't beat you, I think it's in a week we play each other next time. If we don't beat you, it's not a Park. If that's not the game we break our mental voodoo away to Friday, then there'll never be.
there'll never be one, yeah.
Uh, I remember a similar kind of feeling because when we played you in October in Kirkcaldy, because you were pretty, I wouldn't say you're as bad as what you were now, but you were still pretty on the ropes, shall we say. Like you weren't the best around about that time, and before that, they were like, oh, you'll beat us and that, whatever, you'll beat us, and then you ended up beating us 2-0, and we didn't really show up that day, but aye, that's a massive game. That's a massive game for us as well. I think you'll be kind of looking at that fixture, maybe like your lips saying, um, you know, rest assured we'll get 3 points against them next week. But I
I'm
don't
not even confident of that.
know.
But
Aye, if anything, it'll be a draw. Uh, but aye, it's mental to think because like as well as that thing to the first five derby and Dunfermline were dog shit in that first five derby. It was a
yeah,
Friday night game. Dunfermline were absolutely dreadful in that game, and they were toothless in attack, and Raith were very, I wouldn't say ruthless, but um, they obviously they done enough to go over the line, and Dunfermline just really poor. It's completely switched now. It's completely switched. Um, yeah, it's mental. It's mental how much uh, stuff like that can change. And that space of time. But aye, it's not looking good. But I still I think they'll struggle this towards the end of the season. But I don't think he's will go down. I still think Ross County are worse than you. And I still think Airdrie are worse as well. I think he's will stay up, but it's still very concerning. I would not be surprised if you do finish in the playoff.
that's yeah. It is a case of, like I said about the energy motor in Ross County home games. It's like the 6 pointers, if anything, 9 pointers at this point for us, because like the three away games, we're not getting anything from them. But you were saying about Dunfermline, the most, uh, if my mental maths is right, the most amount of points they can finish on is 64. St Johnstone are on 60. So I don't think they're going to be catching St Johnstone anytime soon. And I will just add, I did put up on Twitter, uh, basically on the Monday or the Tuesday before the derby about Dunfermline when Oxborough was recalled by Motherwell. I did put on Twitter, Dunfermline losing their only competent goalkeeper the week we play them. Not like we'll do anything about it though. Wow. Yeah, it's just really just not looking good. I mean, I would be surprised if we do what Aki's did in winning in winning the Challenge Cup, but then getting relegated through the playoffs. I'm trying to think who is in the League One playoffs right now. Yeah, there's there's Stenos Muir, Alloa, and Queen of the South. So yeah, and those are Queen of the South have been in a bit of an iffy form, but it's like Alloa and Steady have been really good. But yeah, I can't wait for my derbies next season to be against these five. I'll just put it that way. Right, so
You've got the railway station now, Callum. You've got that to look forward to.
I've got a direct bus link to the stadium. I'll put it. We'll put it that way. I do actually wonder if it would be quicker for me to get the bus to the train station and get the train through to Leven, or if I could just get the bus to Leven, just from where I am. You know, I do wonder what would actually be quicker. Right, enough moping from me before this ends up becoming a Raith Rovers podcast. We do, of course, have other teams to talk about on the Saturday, and of course there was St Johnstone at home to Ross County. Saints looking to regain their 8-point lead, with Thistle having the game in hand. You know, I've got that in the brackets. Just got to make sure, you know, before you pipe up. Meanwhile, County were looking to go level on points with Morton and Raith if they were to get a win. But Saints, they managed to open the scoring through Rhys McAleer again, his third goal in 3 games. I was in the 25th minute with an effort from the edge of the box, managing to find its way into the bottom corner. It's his third goal in 3 games. It's also all 3 of those goals have given St Johnstone the lead, which is a pretty interesting quirk, to say the least. But then, only other highlight for the first half, there was a penalty claim for a foul on Payton, on Rui Payton, as he gets bundled over in the box as the cross is coming in. I'm not too sure on this one. Like, there is not really much attempt to go for the ball, but then again, like, the ball is, when you see where the cross does end up going, it's nowhere near where Payton would have been able to reach. But I can understand being aggrieved by it. You know, he's just been bundled over. But it's one of those where, not unless the ball was actually going to be anywhere near where he was, then it's not going to get given. It's just one of those weird inconsistencies. But then, second half, there was it's like County got their first, if I can recall the Saints TV commentary correctly, their first attempt at goal in the 71st minute. Phillips would get the ball on the edge of the 6-yard box, turn and shoot, but it just went well wide. Almost ended up at Uche's feet. Who could have, you know, if it went a bit differently, he could have tapped home on his return to McDermott, but not much would follow, and Saints would win 1-0 in a game they were pretty comfortably the better side in. But yeah, as mentioned, the 8-point gap is back, and Ross County are, after other results, they're once again bottom. But yeah, thoughts on either side, Kieran?
I mean, it was pretty much a few points up the road job for St Johnson, pretty much. It wasn't pretty by any means necessary, but they got the job done, and county based, they basically barely threatened, minus 60 one or two chances on like the 70th minute, um, towards the later stages of the second half. I mean, this game, looking at it before it, for Ross County, it's a key hit. As much as they're bottom of the table and they need the points to get, they're facing top of the table. Um, they're top of the league, still the league leaders. It's a free hit for them, pretty much. But it was St Johnson didn't have to do much at all, if anything, and they still came away with the win. And they're looking at wins, unfortunately, that kind of pains me to say it, but they're looking at wins that will win you a league. Um, they wins that you can grind out, kind of thing. Wouldn't say they ground it out, mind you, so kind of just pass kind of thing. But I just be a county kind of position. I don't know. I think I was listening to the episodes last week, the most recent episode, and I think kind of ends was spot on when they say that. But I don't see County finishing like above ninth. To be honest, I think they're just far from consistent, and it's not looking good for them. But St Johnson again, they've kind of made the task for us a bit hard, I suppose. That's them now obviously opened the gap back up to 8 points. Obviously again, as you said, I'd like to caveat we've got the game in hand, but to be honest, we have I would much rather have points in the bag than a game in hand. But I mean, and we all know what that game in hand is. So I'm not that that's that's already a game anyway, a game down anyway. So I'm not even counting that game in hand. But I'd have obviously made their task a lot harder. But we've obviously, as you said, got them on Friday night. Um, but I think by the end of it, obviously, especially with the injury news we've got, I think it's St Johnson's to lose now. I think it's St Johnson's, and I don't want to cause me being like playing the underdog card kind of thing, but I think I think it's gonna with the gap and obviously again we win Friday night, that's game back on pretty much, but it is still 5 points. That's still a bit of a gap, but aye, especially after tonight news, where three of our most important players are out. That's pretty much that. I think it's the end of the doors now. Callum, I don't know if you'll agree with that, but
Yeah, I more or less suggested it with last week's episode, especially after Thistle's back-to-back draws,
yeah,
and it's like Saints getting back-to-back wins and now 3 wins on the bounce now with this result. Um, it's just a case of even winning that game in hand or the game on Friday against the two. It's just a case of it's just too little, too late,
mm-hmm.
if anything. Like,
Definitely.
don't get me wrong, we've seen what happened with Falkirk towards the end of last season, where they very nearly threw away a position a bit more comfortable than what St Johnson have, but I just don't see that happening.
No.
I don't see something like that happening with St Johnson. And as you say, with Ross County, they have is it they're bottom of the league for a reason, and that's because they have been the worst team in the league. And as Enzo was saying about how it's like they're going to finish ninth and most things, even with their win against Raith a couple of weeks ago. I mean, it's their only win in the last 5, by the way. They just didn't really have anything about them. apart from being a bit physical. It's like the goals tend to be from set pieces or crosses. There's nothing from open play that's really threatening about them. And it's like I watch Raith, so I know what it's like to have a toothless attack. So if I'm seeing Ross Counties or something similar, then you know how it is. But yeah, I suppose it's like with the fact that it is a 3 point gap for County 2, both Morton and Raith, and 11 points of Edric. It's like it can just take one or two results. So with seven or 8 games left for teams, so I wouldn't completely count them out of finish. It's really the highest they could possibly finish is 7th. It's like they're not catching Queen's Park or Ayr, and it's like the gap is just too much at this point. But yeah, it's like they've been down at the bottom of. I don't even think they've been out the bottom 2 this season. I genuinely don't think they've been at the bottom 2 at any point this season, and it won't surprise me if that's how it finishes for them. But I suppose we move on to Queen's Park. They were home to Ayr. Unfortunately, we don't have Enzo to talk us through this one. But yeah, this was a case of both sides battling for 4th place. They played each other on a Tuesday night last week. Queens managed to leave Somerset with the win that time around. This one, Ayr would take the lead in the 24th minute. Anton Dowd's headed effort, it came off the crossbar and came down. And I think it would have bounced on the line, but then it hits off Callum Ferry's knee, who is also coming down with the ball, and it just goes over the line. It's like Ferry immediately pushes it back over, but it's like watching it's like you don't actually see it until they get to the 3rd replay where it shows the angle from basically right next to the post that you see. It's like it actually did go over the line, so it's like fair play to the linesman for spotting that. But then not even 10 minutes later, a Queen's Park free kick would sort of just go over everyone, but then the cross back would get sort of headed back to the edge of the box. Just fell perfectly to Ewan Murray, who just smashed it into the roof of the net to give them an equaliser. And then about 2 minutes after that, Stuart Bannigan, who we've made a fair few references to in this podcast, when he was already on a booking, he stamps on the ankle of Aidan Connolly and doesn't get booked. The only booking was given to Matty Shields for complaining at the ref, and it's like I think at this point, my opinion on Stuart Bannigan, I am surprised he didn't get sent off. Enzo was very surprised he didn't get sent off as well. Second half, only points to note here were 2 penalty shouts. First one, cross is put into the box, and Callum Smith, I think it is, he got caught between 2 Ayr players when trying to win the header and just ends up going down. It's a tricky one. It is one where it's like I have seen given, but I've also evidently not seen given, so not sure on that one. But then the second, but it's like no foul is given, so who knows? Whilst the second one, a foul is given for this one. I think it's Ross McLean running into the box gets fouled, and it's given as a free kick, but just before the line. So I'd say Ayr have got away with that one. It's a correct decision because you sort of see the contact and the fall start to happen just before McLean enters the box. So it's very lucky for Air, but yeah. Aside from that, it wasn't really too much. But yeah, it's like with that one, it finishes 1-1. It means both teams are now 4 points behind on Farmland. Queens Park, they are one of the informed teams in the division, so there is definitely still hope for them in regards to potentially getting into those promotion playoffs. But with Air, they're winless in their last five. The only other winless team is Raith, coincidentally. Yeah, it's over for Air, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. To what I've seen for Air this season, I've not been impressed at all with them. Despite the investment that they've put into it and whatnot, I've just not been impressed by it at all. And I just don't think Scott Brown's that good a manager. I think Scott's kind of run out now. And I think definitely they're at the point where there's Air fans still calling for his head in March. But I know you kind of said in the last episode there that you don't really see the point. And then obviously getting rid of Scott Brown, and I agree that there's no point getting rid of your manager in March. You know what I mean? When you've only got 2 seasons left, so 2 seasons, sorry. Then you've still got 2 months left, so I think we'll wait. I think we'll see it out and then get rid of the summer. I don't really see Scott Brown staying beyond um, beyond this season. But I mean, I think it's more so. I think it's a really good um, result for Queens Park. I think. And they're just kind of trying to get as many points as they can, drag themselves as high up the table as they can. I would not be surprised if Queens Park finish above here now. With the way things are going, I think just here are just far too inconsistent now, and I don't know if Queens Park will finish it. I think it will become permanent finishing fourth. I think it will. I don't really see here finishing fourth, but I would not be surprised if it's either sixth, Queens Park fifth, and then Fairmont fourth. And I'll credit Sean Crichton. I think he's a fantastic manager, and I think also will have a lot more praise than I can give him. But he's been absolutely fantastic. And when everybody, when they lost title at St Johnson in January, I think everybody, myself included, thought, Jesus Christ, that's them up, but that's them division. And they've played the exact opposite. I think they've gained more. I think they've won more games without them than what they have with them.
Yeah, it's like they've earned more points in trying to think at the. Yeah, it's like they've earned more points in the 9 games without him than they did in the 20 games with him.
Yeah.
Which, when you consider, it's like Fowl was responsible for half of their goals at that point.
Yeah.
It's like no one could have predicted that.
No,
You know.
that's what they do. And I think again that the credit has to lie with Brighton. I think he's a fantastic manager. I think he's destined for, as Angels said in the last episode as well. I think he's destined for big things in management. Really good things. I think he's destined bigger than Queen's Park. I don't think Vincent will disagree with that. I think he certainly said similar things last week when I was listening to the podcast. But I think it's more fun Scott for Air, as I said, and they're just again far too inconsistent. I don't think there are many games that are going down, despite what some of the fans would say. I think their suggestions there more in Race Rovers predicament, which I don't think they are. I think they'll stay up, but I think they'll be sixth. I think they'll finish sixth this season, and for them, especially with the investment they put into the squad and everything else, it's not good. It's not good for them, especially when they've been routinely finishing in the playoffs. You could say the past I think it's 3 seasons now. They're finishing the playoffs twice. I want to say, uh, unless because I know we played them in the playoffs twice. So, but it's I think Queens Park. I think Queens Park are safe. I'll say this right now. I don't think they'll go down. I think they've kind of grabbed themselves this scruff of the neck, um, and I've got them out of relegation. I think they'll be fine. And I think they're safe. Um, but aye, it's mental to think that. 'Cause I thought Queens Park for the longest time this season. I thought they were the worst team Bristol play against. That 5-0 game, they were horrendous. And even with that good either, I would say they were just Bristol that day. But I know they've certainly proved me wrong. They've proved a lot of people wrong as well. Especially as I said with Fowler's departure, everybody thought they were down to the bottom, but now um, they've done themselves proud, and I think the players and that as well have definitely done themselves proud. Man, they've got a squad there that want to fight and want to fight for the badge and run through big walls for Brighton. And again, that's every credit that has got to go to Brighton.
Yeah, it's like after I think Fowler's departure came not too long after they were beaten 4-1 at Starks Park, and it's like having seen that performance and Fowler's departure, it was I was in the same boat. I was just like, this is going to be 8th at best for Queens Park, but no, it's like fun. It's like they've been on an excellent run. I think they've got like something like 18 points or something ridiculous in that sort of time. I think it's been, last 10 games they've got 17 points. And in that time, Raith have got 7. But the thing is, that last 10 run includes that win against Queen's Park. So, they've definitely been, like, as you say, big credit to Sean Crichton for turning it around. With how it's been, and with the gap being 8 points with 7 games to go for Airdrie County and Queens Park, then this is them safe now, which incredible to think about the position they were in a little over 6 weeks ago. But I've already said my piece on last week, as you mentioned. It's like with Scott Brown, I guess it's going to be a case of he'll be away in the summer. Just no point in. It's just, I don't think this is salvageable. Like it's just a nothing season for them now. But we'll move on to the final game, which was Airdrie at home to Arbroath, bottom of the table, hosting third in the league in what is now the 6th meeting of the sides this season. Arbroath won the first fixture, Airdrie won the second, and then since then, 3 draws. 2 of them, of course, being in the cup with Airdrie winning both on penalties. But I'm not going to waste time on this. This became 4 draws in a row after a 0-0 where there was like there was nothing aside from Arbroath. Like I think the commentator in the highlights was saying it was about like the 89th minute or something like that. Arbroath won the ball off an Airdrie defender on the edge of the box, and for some reason, well, I don't see for some reason, but the boy who wins it for Arbroath, he just goes on his own despite the angle. But it's like there was an Arbroath player there, if he had better awareness and could have passed it across, and that would have been 1-0 Arbroath, and we'd have actually had something to talk about for this game. But no, he just sort of shoots the keeper, makes a good save. But aside from that, it was really nothing to say about this game. No controversial decisions, no great saves, nothing. Just nothing. I will say though, Arbroath are really starting to falter now. They're unbeaten. They're unbeaten in their last 5. It's just that they've drawn their last 4. And it's like with the form and farm that I was showing, with a draw and then 3 wins in a row, and it's like 5 points with a game in hand. It's not too long ago. I was just like, oh yeah, this is it. That's five for our both sorted. Might not be, but aye.
I think they
Your
will
thoughts
be.
on
I
this one?
think they will finish in the playoff.
Oh, aye.
I
There's
think they will.
no.
I
Aye,
think they
it's
will.
9 points. It's 9 point
Yeah,
gap to Ayr and Queens Park. I don't see them making that up in the
and again,
seven or eight
if
games.
if if you offered that to an Arbroath fan at the start of the season or before the start of the season, they'd have snapped their hands off for that. I think they would have laughed in your face. I think their goal before the season would be to just kind of keep himself out of any trouble, stay up, survival would have been their aim. But then the playoffs, the hats off to them, done well. But I think they are starting to falter a wee bit. And the Fairmont right on their arse now. So um, I I don't know. I don't know. I would say it's too close to call, but um, I I think especially with the cup run as well with the firm they've got, I think that momentum for that will carry them over. But again, Arbroath, if you gave them um, a playoff spot, a promotion playoff spot, I think they would have absolutely taken it. It's been a great season for them. It's been fantastic. They've stayed out at any clear trouble. I don't know what happens actually. I think they're predicting them to go down bottom of the table. About that area. But I said to them, they've proved everybody wrong, and they've had a really good season.
Yeah, it's like with Edgy. Meanwhile, it's like that point does take them off the bottom, which it is on goal difference, but still, every point counts, especially with how tight it is at the bottom. But yeah, it's like you look at their remaining fixtures. They've, as mentioned, they have Raith away on Saturday, but then after that they have Ross County away, which is probably the biggest one of the lot if they want to avoid finishing bottom. It, as I said, it's like with Raith, as mentioned, it's a case of Raith have got Edgy, Morton, and County at home to finish off the season. It is the opposite for Edgy. They have, as mentioned, us away, County away after that, and then the last game of the season is Morton away. And it's like even then, after Raith and County away, it's St Johnstone away, Dunfermline at home, Thistle at home. Do you really see them getting that many points? I'm not too convinced. I think I'm still thinking they're finishing bottom, but there is a that could that is entirely reliant on that fixture against Reef.
Yeah.
But
No,
aye,
I
any thoughts
completely
on
agree.
Edry?
I think I'm just going to echo what you said. I mean, I think they've at points throughout this season, I think they've played really well. They've just not got the results they could have had. I think they've been pretty unlucky, but that means nothing. You know what I mean? You need to start picking up points, you need to start picking up wins, and they're far from consistent to my liking. Obviously, the fixture list was kind for them as well. Um, but these three games, as I said, is like County, sorry, my head just fell. Sorry, there we go. So as I said, there's like County, Morton, Raith. They've got in the three there, Airdrie.
Yeah,
Airdrie, if we beat, I think that's been a bust for Airdrie to be honest. I think it's been a bust for Raith as well. That fixture. Airdrie, Airdrie win that, and it drags Raith right into the other side. Raith win that, and I think you're not. Well, I think you're just safe if you win that. I think that's the one game that you're kind of like, right, win that.
aye. So I think if you beat Edry, that's just not finishing bottom.
Yeah, aye. Um, but then you've got Morton there as well, who can get dragged into it as well. You're sitting there. Look, I'm looking at the table now, and Morton they were not good on Friday night, as I said, and aye, don't know. I don't know. I can't call it right now. It's far too tight. There's like 4 teams you can say that are actually well, it's the bottom 4 that are in danger of going down. Aye, I would not be surprised if they finished bottom though. I wouldn't be surprised if Ross County finished bottom either, just by how shite they've been this season, how shockingly bad they've been this season. But honestly, I think I'd be surprised if Raith finished bottom out of Raith 1. I think that'll be the shock. Um, Morton, I wouldn't be surprised if they finished bottom. I think they've been pretty poor over the course of the season, and I think the bottom two just kind of speak for itself. But aye, the odd teams, I think odd teams before bottom teams would still have to play each other.
Mhm.
Towards the end of this season, I'm sure. So aye, it'll make it very very interesting.
Yeah, it's proper proper squeaky bum time at the bottom end of the division. But aye, so that's all the games covered. So we'll quickly go through the table. St Johnstone are top on 60 points with 29 games played. Bissell 8 points behind on 52 points, but with the aforementioned game in hand. Arbroath are third on 44 points from 29 games, with Dunfermline on 39 from 28. Ayr United are fifth on 35 points from 28 games, ahead of Queen's Park on goal difference, who have played a game more. Then it is Raith on 30 points from 28 games, again ahead of Morton on goal difference, who have also played a game more. And then Airdrie and Ross County are your bottom two with 27 points. Airdrie ahead on goal difference. We'll look forward to next week's fixtures, which, of course, as mentioned, Friday night under the lights, Partick Thistle at home to St Johnstone. How are you feeling about this one, Kieran?
Ah, I think before today's news, I would be a lot more confident. With the injury news, it's came as a real downer. But listen, we've not been beaten in the league at home yet this season. So we've still got. I think that I'm a lot more confident if it was in Permouth, I'd be dreading it. But the fact that it'll be, I think it'll be a factor. I don't think it'll be a sellout, but I think it'll be massively packed. St John's will follow a good crowd as well. But aye, it's been a bust. It's been a bust for us. But even a draw, I think is done. In my opinion. Then it's the Johnson win. Obviously, I think that's it done. But as I said, would be confident. But obviously the injury news is just came at the worst possible time for us, and the three are more important players. But nonetheless, I still looking forward to it. And if we win it, it's back on. And we've got to back ourselves, but we've got to massively dig in now, especially when three key emissions, as I mentioned.
It definitely feels like this is the decider, really.
Yeah.
But the Saturday fixtures meanwhile, you have Arbroath at home to Queen's Park. We'll see if Arbroath continue their streak of draws, or if Queen's Park can get a win to, maybe put that playoff spot for Arbroath into some form of jeopardy. You never know. And of course, there is Ayr against Bolton, which just does not have anything good written all over it the way things are going. There's, of course, Raith against Airdrie, as mentioned, massive 6 points at the bottom end of the table. We have a terrible record against Airdrie as it is, so stay tuned for next week's mental breakdown. And, of course,
Sorry, Hugo, start drinking that just now.
yes. Like I fully think that's it. But do I really? I think at that point it would just be like, yeah, like if relegation happens, it's not a shock anymore, as you were saying. But yeah, it's like our record against Edgewood is fucking terrible, so it's even worse. It just it makes it even more difficult if we do lose to stay up. because it's like it would bring Airdrie level with us on points, and who knows what Morton will do. And Ross County, meanwhile, they're at home to Dunfermline. We've said enough times about Dunfermline and their inconsistency. It's like they're looking like a team in form, but now they're going up to Dingwall. Again, who knows? But
I'm pretty sure Ross County beat Dunfermline as well at Dingwall in the last game, I'm sure.
yeah, it was like beginning of January when County won back-to-back games,
Aye.
and we're just like, oh, this is County back or something. And it's just like, no, not really. But yeah, that is everything that we have to cover. We will be back next. What?
Have you mentioned our broken spot?
Yeah, I did mention that.
Alright, okay.
I'm on top of my game. It's like even in this depressive mental state that I've entered by having to talk about Raith for like maybe half an hour in this podcast, I am still a competent podcast host somehow. But yes, we will. Yeah, we will be back for next week where we'll see what happens. We'll be back for next week's fixtures no matter what. And so yeah. Bye for now.
Catch you after. Take care.